Well, hi everyone. I am Daniel Williams, senior editor at MGMA and host of the MGMA Insights Podcast. And today we've got a guest who is going to be talking about some of those most persistent pain points in healthcare, hiring the right people.
Yeah.
So our guest today is Dr. Michael Neal. He's a practicing optometrist and founder of Build My Team. And after struggling with turnover and hiring frustrations in his own practice, Dr. Mike created a new approach, one that's now helping practices across the country build stronger teams. So you and I were talking offline, Dr. Mike, but I just wanted to say welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Daniel. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's so good to have you here. So, like many people that are in healthcare, you have ventured out to do other things as well. So,
Mhm.
let's just talk about that. Let's go back a little bit and share some highlights from your origin story, just getting to know you better, whether that's through your journey in healthcare or even getting out more as an entrepreneur and a speaker and a coach as well. So, let's talk
Mhm.
about that.
Well, thanks. So I started the Build My Team journey simply because I was a practicing eye doc in a small group practice in rural Pennsylvania, located right next door to the middle of nowhere. And we have, as far as the talent pool, it's not a pool, it's a puddle. It used to be 6 inches deep. Now I think you'd be hard pressed to get it at 3 inches. It's really, really tough. So I didn't start out to create a company out of this whole journey. It was simply to find great people. That's all. Great people, because our practice was hiring using resumes. It was awful. We were getting absolutely horrible results, and we didn't know what the heck we could do differently. So I took a look at other companies, figuring, hey, look, there's a whole bunch of people out there that are a lot smarter than I am. What are they doing? Uh, and companies like the Four Seasons, Disney, Ritz-Carlton, some of these big organizations that just have amazing customer service. What are they doing? Because that's essentially what we're trying to do in healthcare. Of course, we don't call them customers, but patients. We're trying to bend over backwards to help people take care of people and do so in a way that they want to come back. And so, yeah, I looked at their hiring models, and they just weren't doing it the same way as we were.
Mm.
They would post jobs. So they write a great job description. They'd post jobs. They would have all of these applicants apply, but they wouldn't start off with interviews right away. They'd put them through an assessment process. And I was like, what's an assessment process? Well, it turns out that you can predict people's behavior based upon how they answer these assessments. And we ended up creating an entire process to do that and to get outstanding results. We had to change everything that we were doing.
Let's talk about that then. You mentioned names like Disney and the Four Seasons and Ritz-Carlton and others like that. What were they doing? What were their hiring models? And can that be adapted to medical practices? Or are they, you talked about pools and puddles to draw from, but those are
Yeah, boy, oh boy.
types of organizations. But
Yeah,
at the heart of it, no matter what our business is, we're working with people, and people like to be respected and they like
yep.
frictionless contact and different things of that nature. So let's just talk about that. What did you draw from them that you could then apply to your optometry practice or to other practices?
Oh, great question. Well, you hit the nail on the head. They take care of people, and they take care of people in unique and incredible ways. Guess what we do as healthcare professionals? I got news for you, Dan. Big surprise. Good thing we're both sitting down. We take care of people. We do
That's
so
right.
in unique and incredible ways, right? It's the same thing, even though you don't think that it is. And sometimes it's not, because, but it could be. It's
Mhm.
it's an aspirational thing for us. Why's that doc buddy of yours got all 5-star reviews in his practice, and in another practice you're struggling, that type of thing. So it becomes very challenging, but it can be done. And that's what they were doing. They weren't making their decisions on resumes. That's the key point. They would run people through the assessment process that they had. They would determine if they would be fantastic at the job before talking with them, before meeting them, before looking at resumes. And then when they were done, they would look at the resume to determine if the person had any relevant experience, which, a little teaser here, can be a massive red flag. So we'll talk about that later. But that's how they would approach it. And we were approaching it completely opposite. Hey, you applied for a job, you throw an absolutely disastrous, awful resume in front of us. You're one of the few people applied. Why don't you come in for an interview? Oh my goodness. You know what? Well, that's like sitting there and asking a patient, hey, what's wrong with you? Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to skip all the testing. We're going to skip all the lab work. Here's your prescription. Next. Nobody does that, right? You can't practice medicine that way, or healthcare at all. So the reason we were doing it that way is we didn't have a better way. That's all it was.
You make really good points there that it does seem like, as opposed to really strategically finding the people that fit in with your organization, sometimes in healthcare, it sounds like it's just we're desperate and we need somebody, so we're going to take somebody. Is that something that you saw over and over again? Because it does seem like, particularly at the front desk, we will see it's a turnstile. There's just such turnover. And as we've talked about on this podcast before, many people lose front desk people to Starbucks and the local grocery store and other people like, organizations like that. And hopefully it just won't continue that way. What are your thoughts about that?
Our approach is to find people based upon their mindsets, their strengths, and their talents, how fast they learn, what they're naturally bringing to the table. Okay. If you zoom out from this and you look at this at a 50,000 foot view, you have a job. It requires a person to be really good at certain things. Okay, that's straightforward. We all know that. Then let's go find a person who's really good at those certain things. Okay, that's what we're all trying to do. What our approach does is we will determine that incredibly accurately without asking them. Hey, do you handle stress really well, Dan? Oh, absolutely, Dr. Mike. I even though I'm shaking like a leaf right now and sweating profusely, I am outstanding at handling stress. It's just hot in the room. Well, no, Dan, it's 67 degrees. You're not telling me the truth.
Right.
And that's a standard interview nowadays. So, we measure stress. We measure the stress tolerance. We measure how fast they learn. That's another critical component. If you're not going to learn fast enough in healthcare, you're not going to work out. There's no such thing as a healthcare position that doesn't change, that doesn't have some level of routine improvement to it. It's the nature of the profession. So things like that, for each position, and you mentioned front desk earlier, your front desk is critical. Absolutely critical to a practice. You make bad impressions, you're going to have all kinds of problems. You make great impressions, you're going to have people that won't stop promoting your practice. Easiest, most binary way to grow a practice that there is. And so for each of these positions, we know exactly what makes a terrific candidate. We know what these strengths and talents are, and our entire process is essentially automated. So when these candidates apply, our software will determine who's best for these positions.
You mentioned a term earlier, mindset. I think her name is Carol Dweck, wrote the book Mindset. We talked about it in our MGMA book club and probably brought it up here in a previous podcast. But in your terms, though, what is the mindset you're looking for when you are screening people or interviewing people for your practice or for other ones that you would recommend there?
First of all, I would love to meet her someday because her work is seminal. There's a bunch of things we're looking for. Specifically, a hardwired requirement to serve other people. Okay. You want to help other people. And everybody listening to this is like, who doesn't want to help other people? Guess what? I got a news flash for you. Most. Okay. Most people don't want to help other people.
Right.
All right. Most people who are applying for healthcare positions, a lot of them do. But a whole lot of other people who are applying for healthcare positions want an incredibly stable paycheck. They want to work in air conditioning, and they want to work in a position that's not going away anytime soon. You don't believe me? Roll back to COVID.
Right.
Okay. The people that stayed, that was a huge component to that. Air conditioning was a little bit of an issue at the time with COVID, but let's skip that. What I'm saying is they want a cush job. They're not
Right.
going to be standing outside baking in the sun. They're not going to be getting generally screamed at on a routine basis like they would in perhaps a call center or something like that.
Hmm.
From a mindset standpoint, we want people who are helping folks. They enjoy that. They get up in the morning to do such a to have such a position, and they're also looking for fulfillment, and this is
Hmm.
critical. You would be shocked at how many people will take a slight pay cut to go home with a huge smile on their face because they helped a whole bunch of people at the end of the day.
Right.
That's one of the strategies we employ.
That is amazing. And I love that. And I totally agree with you in everything you just said. So let's talk about outcomes then. In looking at notes through your organization, Build My Team, let's just start there first. Let's talk about Build My Team. What is it? And what can you share about that?
Sure. So we have a full service hiring approach. And what we do for our clients is it's a completely done for you service. We focus on administrative clerical team members. Unfortunately, and everybody have a deep sigh here, we don't hire clinicians.
Okay.
So that's our tools can be used to help clarify which clinician would work out best for your practice, but we generally don't do that. We focus on the people that do the work, the folks that are the heavy lifters in the practice, the ones delivering the patient interactions other than the clinical care. And boy, oh boy, when you have a stupendous team, I have to tell you, because I went through this, I went from an awful team to a top tier team. You go home as a doc or a clinician with a smile on your face. You have energy for the kids. You have the ability to look forward to the next day and not see an oncoming freight train. That's so what Build My Team does is we find those team members in an automated fashion for an extremely affordable price that will deliver those results.
Okay. And then who are you primarily working with? Are you staying in the optometry world or where? Give us a demographic here of the kind
So
of organizations you work with.
yeah, so I'm an optometrist. I started out with eye care because we knew that implicitly. What we found out very quickly and rather unintentionally is that a private practice is a private practice.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what profession you're in. You can go all the way from eyes to toes and everything in between. What we focus on is staffing private practices with A players, A and B plus players. So it doesn't matter what type of private practice you're in, you still need front desk coverage. You still need to get paid. You still need people to help the clinician. And you clinicians, I should say. In eye care, you might have a retail component. In, let's say, dentistry, you might have a slight retail component with treatment coordinators, things like that. There's all kinds of different options. And so we found out in a real hurry that what we're doing in eye care works the same for other healthcare practices. And now we're in over 10 different healthcare practices, types of healthcare practices, I should say, in over 40 states in the country.
Wow. One of the things I see here is in your notes is some things are transferable across specialties, but
Mhm.
then some things need to be tailored. Just talk about that. What have you seen in working with uh, practices over 40 different states, so you've seen a little bit of everything.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's two ways to answer that question. One, I'm always careful about experience. Okay. Dentistry in particular got absolutely murdered after COVID with people
Hmm.
with experience. And the quick story there is folks were mercenaries. We
Oh,
had dental hygienists jumping from practice to practice to practice for a 25 cent an hour raise. It
whoa.
was it was everybody's worst nightmare, essentially. Practices shut down. They had all kinds of
Mm.
issues. Um, so you can you can take that as a really tough example. Um, but as far as you know the other types of practices, um, what we've basically seen is in general when you're hiring for this approach, when you're using the strengths and talents, when you're not focusing on resumes, you get a completely different level of experience for the clinician, and you don't have those types of people causing problems in your practice.
I was trying to do the math in my head. Is 25 cents an hour, is that like $500 raise or so? Something. I mean, is it worth moving to what you know, the devil you know, to this unknown quantity? I mean, we're
Of
going
course
back to
not.
mindset and
Yeah.
psychology of
Well, those aren't our people. Let's time out on
right,
that one. We do
for
not bring
sure.
those folks to the table. But
I
that's what some practice were facing, and it
yeah.
was awful. I mean, can you imagine the level of stress for the practice owner on that? What do you do?
Well, it just sounds so like such a difficult situation. And I want to be really compassionate to people that maybe even $500 more a year is a difference for you. But at the same time, you've got to be realistic about it doesn't look good on your resume if you're just jumping around from job to
Right.
job, but also just I don't know, unless there's a real opportunity that's beyond just 25 cents more an hour, there's got to be something more there for you, you know?
Yeah, and what ended up happening is a lot of those folks left the profession. I mean,
Right, right,
the I don't know that 25 cents an hour was the core reason.
right.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
dissatisfaction and sheer
sure.
unhappiness were probably more foundational in that sense.
Right. And I don't want to get fixated on the dollar amount, but
Yeah.
it plays into that bigger picture of what's really important. You know, if
Hmm.
you were talking about, are you working in a culture? Are you working in an environment where you go home at the end of the day and you have that energy to play with the kids or go to the gym or do whatever is you're passionate about? And I think that's so important here. One of the other questions I wanted to talk to you about, and I talked to you about offline a little bit,
Hmm.
is the burnout that we're seeing in
Yeah.
healthcare across the board, no matter where you are. So, talk about that a little bit and how hiring the right people in the right jobs can help push that down a bit.
I really can't stress this enough that that is the one outcome from Build My Team taking over the hiring in our practice that changed everything. Like the one lever that moves everything. I was going home at night, pulling my hair out. As you can see, I did a great job if you're on video. I was so depressed
Mm,
because I was whack-a-mole. It was hiring
yeah,
whack-a-mole. You'd come in. Anybody who's running a practice right now can understand this. Sunday night was always tough. You go to bed nervous. What am I waking up to Monday morning?
right.
What text am I going to get Monday morning? I'm going to walk in. What envelope's going to be on my desk? And that's if you're lucky. If
Oh,
you're
yeah.
lucky,
If you
there's
had
an
the
envelope
respect
on
to
your
give
desk.
the
Yeah.
envelope, right, right.
Right. I mean, nowadays it's the front door. They just walk out the front
Yeah.
door. So those were the things that I was dealing with. And now with a team that is a player level, B plus level, these are great folks who do great jobs. You do not have to babysit them. You don't have to like you're not a kindergarten teacher. You're not a cat herder, a professional cat herder. You're none of those things. And it's a completely different approach. So in terms of burnout and culture, to specifically address those, if you have a team where you are the kindergarten teacher and the cat herder, you are looking down the barrel of burnout. It is unavoidable. I don't know anybody who's been able to do that for year after year and get up the next morning and be like, let's go herd the cats again. It's not who we are in healthcare, right? Um, on the other hand, on the cultural side, this is a bit of a controversial opinion, and I'm kind of coming at this out of the blue. But if you want to change the culture of your practice, you start off by letting the lowest performers go.
Hmm.
Okay, you're going to have some high performers in almost every practice. You're going to have you think of your team right now. Who would you be terrified to lose? Okay, that's a visceral reaction. Your
Yeah.
brain didn't tell you that, your gut did.
Yeah.
So that person you want to keep. That's your higher or highest performer. See about number two. See about number three. Where does it trail off where you're like, eh? Okay. And then at the end of that list is the person or the people that you're just terrified to let go because you're not sure if you can replace them. That's what
Okay.
Build My Team's for. Right off the bat, they're holding your growth and your mental health hostage. You don't realize it when you're in the thick of it, but that's what's happening. And I'm not saying it's intentional. It's just I'm describing where a person's at. So when it comes to the concept of the cultural side, yeah, you most certainly let the people on the bottom end go and you replace them with the high performers. What you're going to be able to do then is have your team turn around and start performing. You also stop the low performers from repelling the higher talent.
Okay.
And that is critical because the higher talent, they will do anything to work with A players. An A player only wants to work with an A player. They'll tolerate a B player, but guess what? They're going to quit their job because they have C and D players on their teams. They're carrying the weight of those people. Everybody knows it. So they end up leaving. And you can't replace an A player who left because of those reasons with another A player. It's just going to happen again.
Hmm.
And that's where the revolving door comes. So you focus on the other end of the employee team. You focus on the people that aren't performing well and get those folks off the team and replace them with somebody better.
Okay.
And that's the
You,
why behind it.
sure. Now, you mentioned earlier that you'd love to meet Carol Dweck and talk to her
Mm-hmm.
about mindset. Are there any other experts in this field or books that cover this field that you would want to share as resources for any of our listeners here that you think are just really top of the game here that you can learn from?
Well, I think Rocket Fuel, Gino Wickman, that's an interesting book. Now, that's more on the entrepreneurial side, but guess what? If you're a practice owner, you're an
Yeah,
entrepreneur.
for
Um,
sure.
and that helped a lot for my journey because I'm more on the visionary side and I needed help on the operational side. And so many times, the leaders in the practice are tough uh, in a tough situation because they don't want to relinquish any level of control. That was a terrific jump to help me realize that without doing that, I'm toast. It's a
Hmm.
must do. But you want to relinquish a level of control to people who are good at it. Otherwise, we never hand that stuff off, right? That's the
No,
nature of it. So that was an interesting book that really helped me. And there's a whole bunch of them, of course.
for sure. So, a final question here, then. I just think it's so interesting. So, in reading about you outside of work, when you're not running an optometry practice or you're not running Build My Team or doing all these other things, you're a marathoner and if that's not enough for you, you're something called an ultra runner. So you're going to have to
Yeah.
tell our listeners who may not know what an ultra runner is. That must be an extra marathoner, but tell us about your outside endeavors.
Uh, yeah, boy, oh boy. I'm always kind of, I don't like talking about myself from this sense, obviously, but ran the Boston Marathon in April. That
Okay.
was a really fascinating experience. Even if you don't run, it was a wild experience. Boston went absolutely bonkers for that
Mm.
event. Then, as far as an ultra run, I my record is I ran a little over 60 miles in 12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and didn't die.
Wow. Wow. You're here to prove
Yep,
that.
didn't die.
So,
That was the goal of that race was run 12 hours as far as I could and not die. Yeah.
there's the old, what is the old saying? Like, what is it about a mountain? Why did you climb the mountain? Because it's there or something
Is
along
this
those
there?
lines. So
Yeah.
why does someone run an ultra marathon or an ultra runner of 60 miles? What is in your mindset that would drive you to do such a thing?
Well, probably crazy right off the bat. I mean, clinically, there's some people listening to this that are like, "Oh yeah, that box is checked." Um, no, I think like I started running in 2022. I was super late to the party on that,
Okay.
and the health benefits are incredible for me.
Hmm.
Just I have teenage kids, preteen and teenage boys, and keeping up with them is every day a level of challenge, and this
Right.
allows me to do it. Um, but I want to see if I can do it. You know,
Yeah.
And this is kind of ties back to a little bit of the practice owner side of things. When you were a kid, did you think you could ever be a doctor or be a senior person in a practice? No,
Hmm.
for
Right.
most people, but yet you did, right?
Right.
Did I ever think that I could run a marathon? No, I started out running from the couch to the fridge for the
Okay.
ice cream and back again when the ice cream started to melt. That was it. That was the start of my that was the start of my running journey. And so it really became something that I completely and utterly fell in love with. I don't know that I'm going to do another race that
Hmm.
long. I got some birthdays under my belt, and you're always concerned about injuries and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I did it. Yeah.
It's so impressive. And
Thanks.
so running 60 miles in 12 hours or whatever the numbers are there, what does the body feel like? I mean, what did you feel like afterwards? Did you have any injuries from it? Did you wear out an entire pair of shoes and switch shoes midway through? Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
So it was a slow and steady wins the race approach. I beat a guy
Okay.
who's 24, which
Okay.
was really exciting for me because I'm not 24. I'm not even a backwards 24. But
Right.
what did it feel like? It was past a certain distance. It's all about what you eat.
Okay.
Nutrition wins the race. It's
Hmm.
remarkable. Imagine warm mashed potatoes squished through a tube.
Oh boy.
Those were the winning solution. Um,
Oh boy.
as far as hurt goes, yeah, there was some ibuprofen involved. Some ibuprofen
Okay.
and acetaminophen at the same time works wonderfully.
Hmm.
Got up to the limits of what a human should probably do during that period of time. It was just mandatory. I had to.
Right.
And my feet, that was a whole nother story. Three shoe
Yeah.
switches. I had a team of people who were keeping track of all that stuff because
Hmm.
I don't know anybody. Well, the professionals still have a brain that works after a
Hmm.
certain number of miles. Mine was mush. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm happy it didn't leak out my ears, but it might have. I wouldn't have known. So I had a team that was keeping track of this, and they would tell me,
Okay.
"Sit down. We're changing your shoes. You have to eat this and that." And
Okay.
sitting down was magical, but I'm telling you, getting up was hard.
That's what I would think. It's the
That
getting
was
up part
everything
that
seized
is,
up. Yeah.
yeah. Are you listening to stuff? Do you have AirPods in and listening to music or motivational stuff? Or are you strictly no noise going on there?
Some runners love music. I'm not one of them.
Okay.
I don't. I've tried it. I listen to music in every other aspect of my life, but it's just
Right.
not me for running. I don't know why. It's kind of bizarre. Um, no, but I spent a day thinking until
Okay.
I was unable to think, and then I don't really know what I did other than just plod along.
Okay.
Um, but you know what was really fun and was totally motivating is whenever I would run by somebody, I would tell them they're doing great,
That's awesome.
and it kept me going. It's
Yeah.
like you're doing awesome, and it just gave me that little bit of extra boost too. It was a
That's
lot of fun.
incredible. All right. Last thing I'll ask you then. You've got an image behind you. I don't think
Mhm.
that it's not a real brick wall, is it? Is that one of those? So you've
No,
got
there's a
your, yeah, build my team for people who can't see it. But then on the other side of you, you've got think about things differently. And the differently is upside down. So you're owning that.
yeah.
So talk about that. This will take us out of the podcast, but I would love to hear what thinking differently means to you, Dr. Mike.
Well, in the sense of build my team, it's straightforward. You're hiring, you're getting the same results over and over again. The definition of insanity, right? It doesn't have to be that
Right.
way. We've
Right.
created a new way to get these team members. It's done for you. You pay a small fee. It's handed off. We get these outstanding team members in front of you to interview. We already know they can do the job. You can go eeny, meeny, miny, mo and come out 10 times better than what you're doing right now. And it's inexpensive. I'm not over promising this is what we do. This is the only thing that we do. And so our challenge is always to get practice owners, senior leaders to think about things differently. That's why it's there. And if you
Yeah.
do that, the results that I'm describing to you will come. If you continue down the path that you're on, just know we're here when you're ready.
All right. Well, Dr. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. I love getting to talk to you and
Thank
learn
you.
about your organization and your mindset.
Thanks so much, Daniel. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, everybody, for more information on Build My Team and Dr. Mike's work, we'll include links in the show notes. So, until then, I just want to say thanks again to all of you for being listeners to the MGMA Insights podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.